So in 2015, I launched the first course, and it was kind of like a guided course, the almost like facilitated follow along type of program that I did after selling my stake in a holding company that had franchises and certification companies and a bunch of other stuff. And it was called the Branding Conversion System. And really, it was designed to kind of marry those two things, branding for a business owner, but then direct response concepts, actual structured conversion mechanisms, because the two really work hand in hand. And as we've moved forward, really a decade later, I have been kind of happy to see that some of that stuff's gaining a little bit more traction now. And people are starting to appreciate that that's how people think. But I think they miss what branding actually is. Branding is just not the colors you use or the font that you use or anything like that. Branding is really what the market thinks about you, knows about you, feels about you. And the thing that I think a lot of people in our industry miss when they're trying to sell is we only look at things from our perspective. We know what we do, the changes that we help people achieve, the difference we make in their lives, how good we are compared to others in our market. We see all that, and it's almost like we expect others to just read our mind and know it. So if we run an ad directly to an offer, which you see a lot of people do. A lot of people will run an ad on Facebook directly to an offer to come in and do something in their facility. I'm like, you're expecting these people to read your mind. You think they know everything that you know about this, so this should be a no-brainer. And in reality, it's a huge disconnect, right? Because most people who are scrolling Facebook or Instagram are not shopping for a fitness facility. They're not looking for somewhere to go say, oh man, where can I go spend $300 a month and spend every other morning at 6 a.m. through the winter? They're not looking for that, right? They're just killing time. They're checking out stuff from their friends. They're kind of mindlessly thumbing through the feed. And we're expecting them to make some sort of life-altering decision and a pretty significant commitment and get out of their comfort zone and go somewhere that's unfamiliar and go somewhere that they probably feel like, man, everybody in this place is more fit than me, because we use ridiculous images that make it look like if somebody comes in your gym, then they've hit the fountain of youth and they're all 20 years younger and they all don't have any body fat. And so the person who's just thinking about starting a fitness program looks at that and says, I can't go there. So I think that the better way to understand this is everybody has to get comfortable with a brand before they invest time and money into that brand, right? They have to give it their attention. They need risk mitigation. So how does somebody get comfortable with a brand prior to walking through the door? Well, there are a few ways that it happens, and I don't think these things get talked about nearly enough. The first is just experience, right? Like if you've been in the market for a long time, there's a bit of comfort that comes with that. If you've been in the market for a long time, people have awareness that you exist. They likely know people who've went there. There's some level of comfort and risk mitigation that just comes with you being established. And I think that's an important piece of it, but it's not enough. It's incomplete because markets are busy, people are busy, and attention is scarce. So you may have been there for a long time, but they may not be well aware of you. So the second part is a borrowed trust, because all of this kind of comes back to trust. If a friend of yours hands you a 7-day pass because they just joined a facility, or if they've been going somewhere for a while, invite you in for a bring the friend week, you're borrowing the confidence and trust in the facility because your friend has a relationship with both. They have a relationship with the facility, they have a relationship with you. And if they think this is good for you, and if they think you would fit in there, well, if they're a genuine friend, then you kind of trust that they're not going to lead you astray. So there's this borrowed trust, and there's also this comfort in saying, well, I'm not going to go in here blind. I know at least one person and I can kind of latch on to them until I'm comfortable, right? Or maybe if they're comfortable there and they can do it, then maybe I have some confidence that I could be comfortable and I could do it as well. So there's that borrowed trust. And then there's the work that we do to make a prospect brand aware they're before they're ever really pulled in for the next step in commitment. And this was something I picked up. There was a guy in a mastermind group that I was in that has done really well. He's the CEO of a publicly traded company now, but he had built several successful businesses, really successful businesses. And he went back and looked at the people who had made purchases in his business over some period of time. And they did some research and they said, okay, the average person who made a purchase had consumed about 47 minutes worth of their material, whether it was podcast or a workshop or a webinar, or that much time invested in reading. And those people had really had some level of obviously brand awareness and comfort with him before they made a purchase. And if you think about that, it makes all the sense in the world, right? If you kind of binge a few podcasts, whether it's this podcast or a different one, you start to gain some comfort with the host, right? Like you start to feel like, okay, I know this person, I know what they're about, and you like them or dislike them. Now, obviously, the people who didn't make a move to work with this business owner, they may have listened to the same amount of podcast episodes, they may have read the same amount of stuff, and they may have said, well, I'm kind of dissuaded from doing something, right? They may have said, this isn't for me. But it doesn't really matter, right? Like they're informed enough to make a decision. And I think that we need to understand that as well. Like if we can get people to kind of peek behind the curtain and know who we are, if we can get them to understand how we can help them, who we've helped in the past, if this is the right place for them, then they can make an informed decision and it mitigates some of their risk because they're familiar with us, they're familiar with our brand. And if we're doing this, instead of just basically kind of jumping ahead and saying, well, this person either comes in for a consultation or they're a tire kicker. No, if we can educate them and help them see who this is for, how we can help, who we've helped in the past, who may bear some resemblance to the person we're trying to help now. Now, this person, they're more comfortable. The trust factor has improved significantly. So if you're not going out there and trying to create more trust with prospects through putting out really good, unique content that speaks specifically about your business, if you're not doing stuff that allows your clients to introduce the other people in their lives to you so you can kind of leverage that borrowed trust, you really should. In fact, that's one of the reasons why I've really enjoyed. So a longtime friend, one of my first clients, BJ Blifford, has done amazing things running ads for a lot of our successful clients. And it's kind of because he's the anti-agency. The agencies all use the same stock photos and the same stock copy or whatever else, and BJ customizes stuff to each individual in their market, playing around their strengths. And it's really a kind of a branding based focus. And so it's no wonder they've gotten better results than most of the people running kind of stock agency stuff. I mean, let's face it, people have more choices than they've ever had in our industry by a pretty significant multiple. There are options almost on every corner. I know within like a 2 or 3 mile radius from me, there are easily a dozen training-based facilities somebody could go to, not counting the Planet Fitnesses. And with that choice comes more responsibility for the consumer because they're uninformed. They don't know. This is not their area of expertise. We may sit back here and say, well, why would they choose this other person and not us? Well, because they have a full life with other areas of expertise and other responsibilities. They're not supposed to be an expert in this. So we can give them things that help them make a better decision, that help them find the right solution for them. And if we're doing it the right way, a lot of times that's going to be us.